you've talked a few times about how comfortable you are in terms of the quarterback room and being back in Arizona. Maybe just the idea of coming back. I mean, I don't know if you were ever thinking very carefully about not coming back here, but what does it mean to you to stick around and continue to work in the same room as Kyler and in this offense with Cliff?
It was something I wanted to do. Just coming back home for another year and being home for another year was nice, especially this past year. And so for me, it was another good opportunity just to sort of stay where I wanted to stay, be where I wanted to be around family and friends, and also stay in the offense that I want to stay in. This offense allows me to do everything that I can do and utilize to my best of my abilities. And so I love working with these guys, Kyler, Cliff, and the whole coaching staff, Cam, Tom.
Hey, Brett, how did your relationship with Kyler evolve throughout the season?
I think it's just natural. You don't go in as the older guy trying to be big and bad. I think it just is a natural progression of, him figuring me out, me figuring him out, and then the relationship sort of built that way. And, like I said, I don't try to force anything. And, I think Kyler's an awesome guy, awesome man. And, he's done some great things last year, and I can't wait to see what he does year 2.
Brett, with everything happening right now in the schedule kind of the way it is, we don't know if OTAs or minicamp's going to happen. How important do you think it was for you to come back, having a familiarity, like you said, with the offense, with Cliff, with Kyler, to help everything kind of get going on a faster pace once you guys can start?
Yeah, I think that'd be a huge help, especially with the offense, when you have 2 quarterbacks who sort of who know exactly what the offense is about, how to run it, how to operate it. When you have that, and we have Drew and stuff like that there. When you have that, it sets the tone of everything. There's no lull or teaching again, and the offense is really quick to pick up in the first place. But when you already got it down, we should be off and rolling no matter when we start back. OTAs are a good time for the offense to sort of get a grip on things, but at the same time, it's this offense we can pick up fast, and as long as we have our guys who sort of know what to do, we'll be fine.
Right, you spend much of your offseason traveling. How were your trips kind of curtailed by the virus? Where could you go and where didn't you go? And
I've been traveling for about 2 months, and I actually had to stop my travels a little early. I got screwed. I sort of actually got saved twice. I was in New Zealand, and then from New Zealand, I was in Bali. Well, supposed to go to Bali. Or I did go to Bali, and then from there, I was supposed to go to South Korea. South Korea, before I went, didn't have really much of a problem with the coronavirus. And then the day of, about 3 hours before me getting on my flight, they had tripled in numbers, and everything started. It was crazy. I got saved that way. I just went on to the next leg of my trip. Then after that, the end of all, I was supposed to go to Spain. I was in India for the Holy Festival. 2 hours before I went, we went on the Europe travel, and I didn't want to get that and get quarantined or anything like that. So I came back and headed straight back to the States. My friend actually went, and he got stuck because Spain put on the restrictions that Italy had, where everything was locked down. He just made it back in a little bit ago, but into the U.S. But yeah, so I sort of got saved twice.
Were you curious to see what the free agent market could be like for you entering this year?
Yeah, every time I think for me in the free agency, it sort of helps, because at the end of the day, I just tell my agent, unless if this is what we need to do, this is what we need to do. I just travel, and I say whenever I need to fly back in, and whenever it's time, you just let me know and I'm back. And it sort of worked out great for both years. So that's sort of my whole approach. I don't like looking at stuff. I don't like getting into it. I just want to know where I'm playing football next. And
was there interest, though, from teams? Did anybody reach out to you besides Arizona?
Yeah, there was a couple. But at the same time, this is a place I want to be. And, me and my agent spoke and then sort of went from there.
Hey, Brett, how challenging has it been for you to stay in shape, keep in shape? Have you been sort of talking to everybody by Zoom or whatever on how to stay in shape and tips for staying in shape?
Yeah, that's one of the biggest things I've sort of learned on the road, especially traveling. When I'm at my house, I can work out and do all my own stuff. But traveling, it makes it a little bit more interesting. I do a lot of yoga, honestly, in the off season. In the first place, that's like my number one thing is hot yoga. So there's yoga places everywhere you go. So I usually do that. But also growing up, the only thing I ever did was push-ups, sit-ups, and running. And that's sort of what I know to do. And you can do that anywhere. So I try to just do that. I mean, the biggest thing, especially when I'm traveling, I'm pretty particular. Like I try a lot of stuff, but I don't, indulge in a lot in everything. So I just try to pick and choose sort of what I'm doing, how I'm eating, and just trying to keep my body right.
Hey, Brett, when you take a look at Lamar Jackson and Patrick Mahomes and what they did in their second year as starters, how do you think that's going to help Kyler in his second year?
There's a lot of growth that happens between that first and second year. No matter where it is, I think it's really the growth of when you first get your playing experience, a good amount of it, to that second year. So no matter if it comes in your second year, you get the playing experience, that third year is going to be a big jump. And for Kyler, you got a lot of playing experience in his first year. So that second year, naturally is going to be a jump and increase. But at the same time, Kyler is Kyler, Patrick is Patrick, Lamar is Lamar. Everybody will have their own differences in how they make that jump. And I'm sure Kyler will have a huge improvements from last year, but he did a great job last year in the first place. So sky's the limit for him, and you can't really wait to see what he does.
Brett, what does it do for your offense to have a boost like DeAndre Hopkins now join Fitz in the crew?
Yeah, that's awesome. We got that news. It was awesome to get a guy like that. Bringing a weapon like that into this offense is really scary and dangerous. So can't wait to throw him the ball and see what we can do out there. The whole league knows about this guy. He's, receivers in the game right now. To have him on our team and to be able to throw the football to him, with everybody else we got lined up out there would be really special.
And then what's been handling this whole coronavirus climate that we're in? I know with all of your travels, and then I know you mentioned doing push-ups, sit-ups. How have you kind of handled this whole crazy climate that we're all in remotely?
It's a really crazy time, especially with everything going on and having to do interviews like this. You have to stay on your feet and understand that a lot of things are changing rapidly. I remember when I left on my travels, it wasn't nearly close to doing interviews like this or having to wait, in line for stores to be able to get in because of social distancing and only allowing a limited number of people. I just stopped at GameStop yesterday, and they, some stores are going to door delivery, so you have to order online and then you have to go to the store and they'll give it to you out the door rather than going into the stores. They don't even allow that now. So there's a lot of change. But I think it shows the resiliency of sort of what we can do and, react to with what's going on. There is a lot of change upcoming, and, I've been praying a lot for, especially the elder, I was, when I got back to Arizona, I had nothing in my house. So I had to go to the grocery store and there was nothing there. So I went at like 6 a.m. And there was a line about a mile down the street just to get in. And people, you're running, gunning. And for the people who can't, run around and try to push around people to get some paper towel or some toilet paper, it sucks. So there's a lot of differences and there's a lot of things we have to take into account. And I think people are really understanding that. But we'll get through it. And, we just got to make it work.
Hey, Brett, have you had a chance to talk with any players on the team, maybe about this offense or just life? But what are conversations like with some of the other guys on the team that you know?
As far as just, can you explain that a little bit more? Cam?
Like, just have you had a chance to catch up with any guys on the team, since you've been back, since you resigned, since kind of everything is changed in the world so far? Yeah,
I haven't talked too much. I've talked to Banjo, KD, sort of when he signed and stuff like that, but nothing really about the offense. We all know these are all guys who have been here. And so we all know what we're going to go back into, but at the same time, with everything going on, it sort of creates a weird dynamic of, you're not seeing anybody. You're not, it's hard to say, hey, you guys, if you want, come over to the house, let's have a barbecue. You can't really do any of that stuff. So, it's been a little tricky, and everybody's sort of at home, sort of doing their own thing around their families and stuff. But, it's more the congratulatory and just talks like that. So right now, really haven't got too much talking with the guys about the offense or anything like that. Just with so much going on, it's sort of hard to, football is a huge thing to so many people, sports is, but at the same time, there's bigger things, priorities that sort of take priority in conversations and stuff like that now.
Hey, Brett, Mark McClune, 3TV, CBS 5. Just the importance for you to be in your hometown and stay in your hometown. What's it mean to be with the Cardinals and sign up for another deal here?
It really means a lot to me, especially going into year 2 now here. It was a blessing my first year to be able to come back and just play and come back for the hometown and be around family again. I mean, I remember when I left high school when I was 17, and I hadn't been back since last year. So, and in between there, I may have been back, a handful of times. So to be back for a year fully, it was really a blessing and awesome opportunity to be around family, friends, just again, and now be in year 2. And then just have so many homegrown products, the Cardinals bring back, DK and all the other guys who were here last year. It means a lot to sort of see and grow up with these guys. And now for all of us to be back, it's a really, really huge opportunity and a cool thing that the Cardinals are doing.
Hey, Brett, how do you so the idea has been floated, particularly during the basketball season, about when we get back to action, having fanless arenas. They were definitely going to do it in basketball, and that has been something that's been seriously floated. How do you, I'm sure your whole career has been spent playing in front of people. Your thoughts about that potential?
I love playing in front of fans. It would be really awkward to run out there. It would probably feel like a practice, because as you say, you're practicing out there and it's the same thing. You're between the white lines. It's just when you're playing a game, there's millions of people watching in the stands and stuff like that. So I love playing with fans. It'd really be awkward. I mean, I remember, that would just be a hard thing to do. So I'm not sure if I would like that necessarily. I don't think many players would like that. Football is football at the end of the day, so we would do it, but it's different playing with fans. It's you make a touchdown and you don't hear nobody cheering. That would be fun.
What's been your video games of choice? I'm sure you said you were at GameStop. What sort of has been your games of choice? Have you been playing with other players? I mean, what's sort of been your video game of choice?
Man, I've been killing everybody in Mario Kart lately on the Nintendo Switch. I'm actually the reigning champ in Arizona. So, I stick to that pretty heavy. And people know when they come to this house, it's the first thing they get is a whoop down in Mario Kart. Then we can have fun and just enjoy each other's company.
Hey, as far as reasonable expectations go for your team this year, after the moves you've made and another year with Kyler and bringing people back, is a winning season what has to happen in 2020 in your opinion? Do you have to win 9 or 10?
It's never good to put a black and white on anything, like I has to, because everybody's expectation is you want to. But at the same time, we're bringing all these pieces together, and it's an awesome opportunity for us, and it puts us in position to do it. I mean, Kyman's doing an awesome job bringing all these pieces together. But at the same time, we have to go out there and execute. We can have the best roster, that looks good, but at the same time, if we don't execute, then there's really nothing to it. And it's something that we want. It's something that we hope for. We want to win the Super Bowl. That's what everybody's goal. But at the same time, we have to understand that it's still a young offense. It's still a young coaching staff. It's still a young, mesh of players coming together, and we're building. Rather than understanding that we're, already there, we're still building, and we're trying to put everything together. So we just got to do what we do each and every week and just hope for the best.
How much do you run when you travel? You said that you try to work out a little bit. How much have you run, and where have you run? Like any cool place?
Oh yeah, so that's one of the cool things I try to do. I got some cool video actually of like back in like early days running in Jamaica, but I always try to do a run like every place I'm at, and like and I've got some cool footage doing it, but I try to run for at least 2 to 3 miles. I grew up, running down off of Chandler Boulevard with my pops for 2 or 3 miles every day, Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, during high school, and then sort of transitioned that into college. And when I got to the NFL and traveling, I just try to keep that going. Whether it's on I don't necessarily like treadmills, so I just like to go running on the streets. But I mean, I've had kids running with me. I've had, just running in the coolest places. So it's a pretty nice cut up of stuff that in places I've been able to go just from running around. And it's been a good way to see places as well.
Hey, Brett, last question for me. I'm sorry, last question for me. And thanks again for doing this. Thanks for the Cardinals. This has been great. I'm with ESPN, The Undefeated. And we spent all of last year doing a series on the year of the black quarterback, which of course happened to work out for us. But we were interviewing people like Shaq Harris and Warren Moon and even Marlon Briscoe, guys who, depending on the age, couldn't even imagine a time like this when you had, starting quarterbacks and Super Bowls and all that. Just are you aware of that history? And how does it feel for you just to see this whole arc? And now I don't even know if it's a thing anymore.
Yeah, it's beautiful now because it was such a big thing, man. One place you got to go is, I actually met Marlon there too, is a place called Phil Trady's in Long Beach, California. They used to do the whole, they used to get together as the African-American quarterbacks in the league and black quarterbacks there at the restaurant. And that's actually where I ran into Marlon there. But you should check out, dude's name is Phil Trady. You should hit him up one of these days. He has a lot of history with that stuff. A bunch of quarterbacks have been through there. But I think it's an awesome progression that's come, and that is now, that we have so many African-American quarterbacks playing this game and doing great in the league, showing not only that we can throw, but also run around and make plays. And, when you got guys like Kyler coming out, Deshaun, me, Lamar, Patrick, it speaks volumes to sort of what we can do and the progression that has come. And then I think the history is beautiful, though. When you look back and see where we were to where we're at now, the integration, just everything, the mindset, the stereotypes, I think it's come a long way. And I think it's a blessing to see where exactly we're at now in today's game. I think too, it's funny too now, like back in the day, just a random topic. Back in the day, you're walking around, first thing everybody asks you is are you a receiver or a running back? One of the two. Yeah, it's either or. It's not like you're getting now. You can be a quarterback to people's eyes. You can be something different. And I've noticed that in today's differences. So back in high school, I was never a quarterback. It was always a receiver if people ask. But now, I get asked, "Are you a quarterback?" So it's nice to see that.
Just one thing. I spoke to Marlon yesterday. Maybe Mark will put you in touch. He's doing a film, and he's looking for people like, contemporary quarterbacks to be part of the film. So maybe, Mark, we could communicate.
Yeah, I would love that. I would love to get in touch with him again.